Today's story is going to be Dorje's Stripes. Yes, so here's the book for you all to see. Dorje's Stripes is an audio book, is a picture book that is published by Karadi Tales. It is authored by Anshumani Rudra. Yes, and it is beautifully illustrated by a Korean illustrator called Gwangjo and Janga Park. So you can see some of the art already here while I'm introducing the story title to you. But I'm going to show you the entire book, all the pages. I'm going to take you through the book once we finish the storytelling.
Lavanya, isn't the story also done in our Karadi Path programs in schools?
Yes, and some of our children might already know it. Are you all excited about the story? Like I already told you, it's about a tiger. And you all know, right? We all know that the Royal Bengal tiger is our national animal, isn't it? It's the national animal of India. And that is a story that we're going to learn about today. A story about Dorje the tiger. Dorje, who is a Royal Bengal tiger. Are you ready? Yes. So this story happens in a beautiful place in Tibet, right? A place that is surrounded by Himalayas on one side and on a vast, dense forest on the other. Imagine how beautiful a place like this would look like, isn't it? This place was quiet and the beauty of it was immense. And in between this, picturesque place was a monastery. And in this monastery lived many monks who lived a simple life. So you would find monks of various ages. Here you would find a very old monk. You would find a very young monk. So this place, this monastery that lay between this picturesque, place in Tibet had monks of different age groups, and they lived a very simple life. Something was unusual with this monastery, and that was the fact that they also had a company with them. So the monks were accompanied by Dorje, a tiger. So there lived a tiger along with these monks in the monastery, which is not a very usual thing, isn't it? You don't find tigers in all monasteries. But this monastery in Tibet had our Dorje, who was a friend to all the monks who lived there. There was also a very curious, a very naughty child monk in the monastery called Chiku. Yes, and his friend Sapang. So this story is about how Chiku and Sapang go to their master Wu, and learn so much about Dorje and his past and about what bothers him and what freedom means to Dorje. You all like to be free, right? Yes? Do you all like freedom? Do you all like to play when you want to play, or draw something when you want to draw and not be restricted? We all enjoy freedom, right? Similarly, our Dorje also enjoys freedom. So this story is about Dorje, about Chiku, about Sapang and Master Wu and all the other monks who helped Dorje live peacefully in the monastery. Ready? Yes? Okay. So one day, all the monks gathered in the monastery for a prayer. And once they finished their prayer, we had little Chiku very excitedly look around for Master Wu. He couldn't find Master Wu anywhere. He kept looking around, he kept searching for him, but Master Wu was nowhere to be seen. And that's when something tickled behind his ear. And he had a feeling that he was being watched closely. And the hair at the back of his neck stood and he had goosebumps. Yes. And that's when, as he tried to look around, who he found? Dorje. It was Dorje sitting right behind Chiku, and Chiku startled. How do you all startle? Imagine if you found a tiger right behind you, how would you react? Would you all be surprised? Would you be scared? Would you all startle like Chiku as well? Can we all startle along with Chiku? Let's all imagine that Dorje is right behind us, trying to tickle our ear and, try to slowly touch us. Yes? Can we all startle like Chiku? 1, 2, 3. Yes. And that's when Chiku turned around and told Dorje, Dorje, you bad, bad tiger, he said, very affectionately, and he laughed as he said this. I didn't know you were hiding behind me. Now come forward, let's all play together, said Chiku. Do you think tigers play? Would tigers play with humans? Would you play with the tiger? No? Okay. So let's see what happened with Chiku and with our Dorje right there. So as Chiku saw Dorje, he also found Master Wu. Master Wu was there right behind Dorje, standing, looking at everybody. And Chiku and Sapang excitedly asked Master Wu, Master Wu, where were you all this time? We were all looking for you. You even missed the prayer. Where were you? You're just here with Dorje out of nowhere. Now tell us what happened. Where were you both? Asked Chiku and his dear friend Sapang. Now Master Wu was a very, he would talk very softly, right? He was a very polite person, right? And then he told Chiku, dear Chiku, dear Sapang, I was with Dorje all this while. Do you know something? Something very strange happened today. Now, Chiku and Sapang started to wonder. Children, do you remember when I showed you Dorje? Something's different in this tiger, right? What is it? Yes, so we have, you can also type on the chat box to tell me what is very different in this tiger. I'm going to read your chat quickly. Hazel, you can type on the chat. No stripes. Yes, no stripes. Exactly. So do you see, can you see the tiger here? Can you see Dorje here? Tigers usually have so many stripes on their body, right? The black stripes that make them look majestic, that make them look beautiful. But sadly, Dorje had no stripes on his body. And now this was something very unusual and something that would make one wonder, isn't it? So that's when Master Wu came and told Chiku, Sapang, something very strange happened today. And when Master Wu said this, Chiku and Sapang and all the other little monks and older monks, all of them took a look at Dorje, who was sitting right beside Master Wu. They all gasped. What do you think might have happened? They saw a new black stripe on Dorje's body. And that was even more unusual. For a tiger like Dorje, who didn't have any stripe on his body except for two black strokes above his eyes that you can see here, right? These were the only two stripes Dorje had on the entire body. But on that day, Master Wu told Chiku and the rest of the monks there that, and they also got to witness it themselves, a dark black stripe had begun to, had begun to show on Dorje's body. And that was a very happy thing, isn't it? A tiger who didn't have any stripes was beginning to get his stripes, and they were all very happy. As they gasped, they all laughed cheerfully. They were very happy for Dorje. Dorje right there, sitting majestically beside Master Wu. He just, rubbed himself. He nudged Master Wu a bit. He took his paw and sat and looked at all the other monks, looked at all the other humans who were looking at him cheerfully, right? And that's when Master Wu, I have some, can you not share anything, please? Yes, I have someone share something, so you can not share. Yes, thank you. Yes, so that's when they all sat together and asked Master Wu, where had they gone? And you know what? Master Wu had another story to say. The story about how our little Dorje got the black stripe on his body. Do you want to know how he got the black stripe back? Yes? Now Master Wu tells all the other monks, older monks and the younger ones, what happened to them. Yes? He said, today in the morning, we missed our prayer and Dorje and I went to the forest. And you know what happened there? We met another tiger. And then when we came back, Dorje had a new stripe on his body. But before that, I want to tell you something that none of you know. Do you all remember how Dorje reached our monastery? Asked Master Wu. Chiku and Sapang and everybody began to scratch their heads because they weren't very sure. They only knew that Dorje lived with them for 2 good years. But they didn't know how Dorje arrived at the monastery. I told you, for a tiger to live in a monastery is very unusual, isn't it? So that's when Master Wu went back to the starting, right? He went back to tell these children how our Dorje ended up coming to the monastery. Where do Royal Bengal tigers live, children? I told you in the starting of this session that Dorje was a Royal Bengal tiger. Where can you find a Royal Bengal tiger? You can type on the, it was found in Tibet in the monastery, but where would you ideally find a Royal Bengal tiger? The Sundarban? Yes. You would find it, of course, you would find it in Bengal, right? So our Dorje, who was a Royal Bengal tiger, used to live in Bengal once upon a time in the dense Sundarban forests with his clan, with all other tigers. But something sad began to happen. A lot of humans, very cruel humans, began to encroach these forests and started to shoot these tigers for their skin. They were very cruel, right? They wouldn't spare even one tiger that came in front of them. They would shoot them for their skin, they would shoot them for mere pleasure, and they would shoot them for sport. And that was really bad. Slowly, all the tigers began to die. They began to disappear one by one. The tigers were all disappearing from the Bengal forests. But we had Dorje and his clan, his brothers, his sisters, his family, all of them were still there. Now, before we get to Dorje and his family, I would like to play a song for you all, children. And I want you all to listen to this song carefully and read it as you listen, okay? Now, this song is of tigers who lived in Bengal. The fierce tigers, the majestic tigers, the tigers who did not fear anybody, who had so many stripes on their body and would not fear anyone that came in front of them. Very unlikely, right? Dorje was a very scared tiger. Dorje had no stripes on his body, but when he was in Bengal, he was very different. And I'm going to play a story for you from the Dorje. I'm going to play you a song from the Dorje's tribe, where you can find Dorje with his friends and family in Bengal. Are you ready to watch and listen to and read along? Yes, that's great. So you have to just give me a second as I play it. Yes, can you all see these tigers? Beautiful tigers with full of stripes on their body, happy and majestic and fierce. Yes? Okay, now I'm going to play the story. I want you all to read it and listen to it carefully.
Tigers, a streak in the night, fierce and fast, brilliant, bright, fearsome feline, fantastic, jungle cat, majestic, majestic. Streaks of light paint our dawn. You'll be sad when we are gone. Streaks of light paint our dawn. You will be sad when we are gone. This is ours as much as yours. Our bones are forests spread across. Don't hunt us down for skin and bone. Don't capture us and make us alone. Don't empty us so that you fill your wardrobe homes and hunting thrills. Let us run, and flee. We're not your pets to catch and keep. Tigers, tigers. bright, bright.
Yes. So wasn't that song really beautiful? Yes. So what did the song tell? The song told, please don't, the tigers are saying, please don't hunt us down. Don't make us your pets. We want to be free. This is our jungle. This is our home as much as the cities and the villages are yours, isn't it? And that was what the tigers in the forests of Bengal, in the Sundarban and all other forests in India, this is what they were all asking for. But the humans wouldn't listen, isn't it? They were very cruel. They hunted down each tiger, they killed them, they shot them, and they wouldn't even spare the praise, because if you kill the praise, the tigers wouldn't have anything to eat, isn't it? So they would even hunt down the praise and shoot them. And this was the case with Dorje also. So one day arrived where his entire family still lived in the forests of the Bengal, and we had these poachers, we had these cruel humans encroach there, that part of the forest and hunt down each one of Dorje's family members. Some of the tigers in his family, in his clan, didn't budge. They would stand right there and not leave and not run out of the jungle. But Dorje was scared. He wanted to escape. He wanted to live. He wanted to be free, right? So he ran and ran and ran. And every time he ran, he looked back, he would hear a gunshot. Yes. And right then, one stripe would disappear. And he would run and run and run. Another gunshot, another stripe on his back would disappear. And like this, many stripes were beginning to disappear from this royal animal's body. Yes? And that was like the entire universe itself keeping a count of the number of tigers left. Each time a tiger disappeared, a stripe on Dorje's body would miss. And he ran and ran and ran for his life. And by the time he reached the monastery, he was really tired. He was hungry. He would not even have the energy to, sit. He didn't eat anything for days and days and days. And what was worst was when he reached the monastery, there was no stripe left on his body. He just reached the doorstep of the monastery and collapsed. Yes, and that was when Master Wu found him. Master Wu found a Dorje with no stripe, full of agony and pain, with no food, full of hunger, collapsed and not knowing what to do. And that was the state Master Wu found our dear Dorje. Now, when Master Wu was narrating this entire story to our little children, to our little monks, they were all in tears. They felt so bad for Dorje. They felt so bad for all the other tigers that lived with him happily, fiercely, with no fear in their mind, with, so majestically. They had a very lovely life back, right? And they felt so bad for all the tigers. But not just there. Master Wu continued. This is how we found Dorje. But when he came to our monastery, we fed him all the nice things. We fed him for days, and as days passed by, as weeks passed by, Dorje regained his strength, Dorje regained his energy and began to, go back to his forest. But every time he went into the forest, he would come back running because he was scared. He would not trust humans ever again, right? But he would still go inside the forest. He would roar and roar and roar because he was very angry also. Yes, because he had lost his home. He had lost his brothers, his sisters, his family, his entire clan who had disappeared because of the men who shot down these animals. So he would time and again get angry. He would rush into the forest, roar, 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 roar until he was good with it and come back. So that is how he would cool himself down. But he was still unhappy. He was still sad. He still didn't know what to do, right? He was very depressed. And that's when Master Wu decided to bring him to these children, right? And he loved playing with the little monks. He cherished the time that he spent in the monastery with the monks, with the little children, with Chiku, with Sapang. And he loved this time there, that slowly he started becoming happy. He started smiling. He started liking humans. But he was still not fully, he wouldn't really trust humans entirely, but he was very happy in the monastery with the humans that he played with. Right? And one day, what happened? On the day of the prayer, I told you, Master Wu and our Dorje went missing, isn't it? They went to the forest, they came back, and then there was a bright, big stripe on the tiger's body. And you know why that happened? They met when they went to the forest, and when Dorje roared his heart out, he heard another roar, the roar of another tiger. He found another tiger in the forest. A Dorje wouldn't have any tiger around, now began to grow stripes on his body because there were more and more tigers that he could find. And he found one tiger in the forest who would not run away from him, who came, who kept circling around him. It was a tigress, for that matter. It was not even a tiger. He found a tigress in the forest. So that evening, when everybody else was on the prayer in the monastery, was in the prayer hall, Dorje and Master Wu returned to the prayer hall very happily, because Dorje now had a company. He had a tigress with full of black stripes, and Dorje himself started growing stripes on his body. And that was when Chiku and Sapang and all other monks in the monastery started cheering up for Dorje. They all want to cheer along with Chiku and his friends. Yay, yay, yay. They were all very happy that Dorje now had another friend, a tiger for a friend, and not human this time. Yes, and that's when the entire monastery, all the monks in the monastery decided that they would let Dorje go back to the forest. Chiku was not very happy because it was his friend, right? Dorje was Chiku's friend. Chiku was a little sad, but Master Wu convinced him, consoled him, and told him, "Dear Chiku, we have the villages and we have the cities to live in, but the jungle is rightfully the tigers and it's rightfully Dorje's. So we have to let him go." And that evening, all the monks, prayed for Dorje and all the other tigers that lived in the forest, and sent, with a very happy heart, they said goodbye to dear Dorje, who ran into the forest. And who do you think he would go and meet in the forest first thing? The tigress. Yes. And do you know what? I have captured a photo of both of them in the forest. Do you want to see? So you see Dorje, who has all his stripes back because he's very happy now, and because there are many, many, many other tigers. And therefore, all the stripes have come back. And that's our lovely tigress who he made friends with. And now he can have a bigger clan, right? He can have more people in his family and live happily. Yes. So children, did you like Dorje's story? Yes. Do you want to see the book, the Dorje Stripes? Yes. So this is the Dorje Stripes. I'm going to show you the photos. I'm going to show you the pages of the book. I'm going to show you the beautiful illustration that we have of Dorje Stripe. Yes, so here we go. And I want you all to spot Dorje. Okay? So here it is, Dorje Stripes, published by Karadi Tales. It is authored by Anshumani Rudra and beautifully, beautifully illustrated by Guangzhou and Jongapar. Okay? So do you see the monastery? Do you see how beautiful this entire place is? It has the Himalayas on one end and it has the beautiful forests on the other. And this is where they all prayed, and you can see the unusual company that they had, a tiger with no stripes. And that's how Dorje tickled our little Chiku. So here's Dorje with just 2 black thick stripes on his forehead. Do you see Master Wu gently petting our Dorje? He's just patting Dorje, right? This is how Dorje reached the monastery. By the time he reached, can you see the disappearing stripes? There are only a handful of stripes on its body. And this is where he collapsed, right in front of Master Wu. This was the cruel, cruel past that he had to go through. He was very angry at times. He would just roar to, let his anger out. This was how he had lived in the Bengal forests. You see how bright they are, how fearsome they are. This is Dorje's family, his clan. Do you see what happened to his brothers? It's very, very sad. And do you see how Dorje is running away? He's just so helpless. He just wants to get, he wants to be free. He wants to just get out of the jungle. That's our little Chiku. Do you see Chiku there sitting on Master Wu's lap? Who do we have here? Finally, we have Dorje and his tigress friend. And can you see Dorje is beginning to develop the stripes on his body, exactly like the picture that you all just saw, right? And this is how they all said goodbye to our Dorje. So children, did you like the story, did you like the Dorje stripe story? Yes? Do you think animals deserve more compassion? They deserve to be treated much better, and they also deserve freedom like all of us? Yes? Because freedom is not just for us humans, right? Freedom is for everybody who lives in this planet. All the animals, all the birds, every other being that lives in this planet deserves to be free. And on this Independence Day, let's all, vouch that we would make sure that we will not be cruel to any animal, and we will make sure that we treat all the animals with love and compassion. Yes? Wonderful. Thank you so much.